Hello everyone and welcome back to my F120 career mode here with Haas F1 team for today's episode for the Japanese Grand Prix. If you missed the previous one, the one at the Italian Grand Prix, be sure you check that one out before you see this one. So yeah, and as you can see on the screen, Romain Grosjean will retire at the end of this season. Huge news at the beginning of this Grand Prix weekend. So yeah, in the performance chart, we're still the third worst team on the grid. And Racing Point have actually jumped Red Bull Racing. But yeah, without further ado, let's just jump in straight into qualifying. So here we are then for the start of our first flying lap of this qualifying session. We will have a 55 place grid penalty because I had to change two components of the engine because they were pretty worn out. But I had to take a penalty anyway, and if you change one component, that's a 10 place grid penalty. So changing two would have been a 20 place grid penalty, and then I just thought, if I already changed two, why don't I just change all the engine parts? So I have a fresh engine, because I'm going to start at the back of the grid anyway. So yeah, 55 place grid penalty for us. So qualifying a bit useless, because we're going to start at the back of the grid anyway. But yeah, here we are as we come to the end of our first flying lap into the chicane for the final time. Get on the power. Luckily for this game, the bump here is gone, because in F1 2019 there was a huge bump there. As we come across the line, it is P7 for our first attempt in front of Nicholas Latifi, but behind Antonio Giovinazzi. So now we start our second flying lap of this qualifying session. We are way down in P18 currently. Only the two Williams are behind us or are slower than us, so not good. But yeah, as we come through the Suzuka SS, we go red, the backhand slips away and we go into the gravel and we hit the tire wall and we have front wing damage. I just lost the back end there massively. I tried to catch it and just slammed into the tire barrier there. Nothing I could do really. Really unfortunate. So yeah, the second flying lap is gone now. So yeah, we only have one more flying lap to go in this qualifying session to try to improve our current position. We are somehow back in P17. I think it's because I did a replay. I think that sometimes if you do a replay that happens. But yeah, final flying lap of this qualifying session. Let's get it. So now we start our final flying lap of this qualifying session. Open DRS, run down the mid straight. So yeah, I always do free practice 1 and 2. And in these two free practices for this weekend, I mainly concentrated on the race because, as I said before, with the 55 place grid penalty, qualifying is really useless, and I just tried to fine-tune and get the right setup for the car for the race. So I'm pretty optimistic for the race. It's going to be hard to score some points from the back of the grid with the car we have, but I will give everything we have, and yeah. Now let's hope for a final good qualifying run. As we come across the line, we improved 1.5 seconds. What's it going to be? So yeah, sorry, we didn't improve 1.5 seconds. We improved 1.1 seconds. So yeah, what a grid this is. Lewis Hamilton on pole ahead of Ocon and Ricciardo. Max Verstappen in P6. And we jumped all the way up into P14. Great stuff from us, but now let's jump into the race.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka International Circuit, a stone's throw away from Issa Bay in the beautiful Japanese countryside. What surprises lie in wait for us today in the Japanese Grand Prix? A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Now I want to ask you about Lewis Hamilton. What a season they've had. A well-deserved championship victory and the pressure now surely off with the title already in the bag.
It really is well deserved. I wouldn't say it's been a faultless title challenge, but certainly one that has been consistent and well managed. Here's hoping they let off a bit of steam today and give us an exciting race.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Norris, Max Verstappen and Sainz, Stroll, Perez, Albon and Sebastian Vettel, Fiat, Ocon, Charles Leclerc and Gasly, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Romain Grosjean and George Russell, Latifi and the captain. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
So here we are then on the grid for the 2020 Japanese Grand Prix, the second last race of the season from the back of the grid. So this means full send for this Japanese Grand Prix. So we build up the revs and wait for 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. George Russell gets a great start, but we already passed Nicholas Latifi and our teammate Romain Grosjean. It's to the left of us and we already passed George Russell 2 into turn 1. We're going to be cautious on the brakes, try not to cause any stir or get into the back of someone as we almost lose the back end. We got on the curb awkwardly. The two Alfa Romeo teammates Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi are fighting just ahead of us as Kimi Raikkonen just gets ahead of Giovinazzi, but we see the chance round the outside of Giovinazzi. What a move! Round the outside of the last S of the Suzuka circuit, we get past Antonio Giovinazzi. Great move from us. And we are up into P16 with not even half a lap gone from this Japanese Grand Prix, where we started in last place, and we're gonna send it to the inside of Kimi Raikkonen and Charles Leclerc. And we are up into P14. 2 great moves into the hairpin. Wow. P14 for us right now, with half a lap done in this Grand Prix, and we started from last place. What an opening lap once again. What an opening lap once again. I always say it, the opening laps we have, if we don't have these opening laps, I doubt we would have scored so many points that we did, because that made these good lap 1 really make up for the bad qualifying we sometimes have. Because yeah, I'm gonna be serious here, and yeah, the qualifyings are not always great. So yeah, that's why I'm really happy with these first laps as we go wide into spoon curve on lap 2, and Charles Leclerc has saw the opportunity and is right next to us, but we slip back in front of Charles Leclerc, but he slipstreams us. We go to the inside really late and block him off, and just block his move when he tried to go down the inside, and he's too far away to make a lunge into the chicane. And we keep ahead of Charles Leclerc as we go deep into the next corner again, which is going to allow him to have a good run on us down this long, really long main straight as he slipstreams us, but it doesn't really have the speed because we both have the Ferrari engine. But as you guys know and as we know, we have the better Ferrari engine, as you can always see in the R&D tree. So we keep ahead of Charles Leclerc on lap 2, and we jump all the way to the end of lap 3, where Charles Leclerc is still right behind us and still slipstreaming us. We're going to cover the inside so he doesn't think of a move down the inside as we lock up into the chicane. But I get good acceleration out of it. Thankfully, I said in qualifying the bump is not there anymore. We get the DRS, but Pierre Gasly has DRS of the car in front of his teammate Daniel Kvyat too. So we're not really gaining enough on Gasly, but that really helps us to keep in front of Charles Leclerc there. So yeah, still in P14. Let's see what we can do. Now we jump to the end of lap 4, and we have DRS of Pierre Gasly, but Charles Leclerc is way closer to us than on the lap before, and he is going to maybe not try a move around the outside, but he was alongside us down this main straight, but he didn't try to make a move into turn 1 because it was a bit too far away. So end of lap 5 now, and we sadly, which is not good for us, we don't have the DRS on Gasly. In the detection point, we were not within 1 second of Pierre Gasly, so Charles Leclerc has the DRS. He's gaining on us massively. He sees a gap down the inside. We give him enough room, but he just steps out of that move as we hit his front tire. That was close, but he was not close enough to really make a move and dive down the inside into turn 1. So we keep ahead in P14, and I tell my engineer to box this lap 1 lap earlier than planned. So yeah, as I said, end of lap 6, we come into the pits for a one and only pit stop in this race. From soft to medium tires, this is also kind of an undercut attempt on Pierre Gasly, since we were always getting a bit closer to him in some zones of the track, but then always lost a bit in other parts of the track. So yeah, this is an undercut attempt to stay in front of Charles Leclerc and get past Pierre Gasly. Let's see if it works. We will obviously need a great outlap to do that, as always, but I think we're able to manage. As we jump to the end of lap 7, to the end of our outlap, the lap felt pretty good. As you can see on the bottom left now, Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc have not pitted yet, but Daniel Kvyat has come into the pits, but we are now a lot closer to Daniel Kvyat than we were before. We're 5 tenths behind Daniel Kvyat, and before it was like 2.5 seconds. So the undercut in this regard has worked, but not until now to the way we wanted it to work. So we need to have another great lap now to try to get ahead of Pierre Gasly and stay ahead of Charles Leclerc. But we're definitely closer to Daniel Kvyat, which will also help us. As we jump now to the end of lap 8, to our personal best lap in this race, as you can see on the top right. It was a great lap from us, and as you can see on the bottom left and on the top left, we have undercut Pierre Gasly, and Pierre Gasly was overtaken by Charles Leclerc. I have no clue how. Maybe in the pit stops, maybe not, but we're ahead of Pierre Gasly. The undercut has worked wonders for us. We are up into P13, and now let's try to get to Daniel Kvyat and maybe try to overtake him. And I still have that slight glimpse of hope that we might score some points with it. So now we move all the way to the end, to the middle or the start of lap 10, into the hairpin as we lock up and go deep, and Charles Leclerc is now right beside us. It's going to be a drag race to spoon corner, but we get ahead in the acceleration part. We are close up actually to Daniel Kvyat again. We're under a second away from Daniel Kvyat, but Charles Leclerc is close up massively on us too. It's currently our personal best lap, which is great. But what is not great is that Charles Leclerc is really right up our gearbox and right behind us. But we'll see what we can do. We will give everything to stay ahead of Charles Leclerc as we go deep into 130R. That was not great. Brake into the chicane, turn in, get on the power early, accelerate. We have DRS of Daniel Kvyat. Let's see if he has DRS of Esteban Ocon. Yes, he has. The DRS will definitely help us to keep ahead of Charles Leclerc, because otherwise he would have blasted past us, because he's really right up our gearbox right now. So yeah, through the Suzuka S's right now on lap 11, 3 more laps to go, sorry. So yeah, through the Suzuka S's we go. I've noticed in this race we gain a lot of time in the middle sector on the cars in front of us. We lose a bit again in the last sector, but especially in the middle sector, sector 2, and also sector 1 a bit, we gain on the cars in front of us. But definitely sector 2 as we break into the hairpin once again, as we lock up once again, but not as bad as on the lap before, and Charles Leclerc isn't next to us, which is great obviously. So yeah, that slight glimpse of hope of scoring some points has definitely passed by now, but we will still give our best to stay in the position we are, because in the end you never know, you might be the same amount of points with another team or another driver, and good results will always help you. As Charles Leclerc is gaining on us into 130R, but not enough as we get on the grass a bit awkwardly, but we will break into the chicane, turn in. I think we've lost the DRS on Daniel Kvyat. Yes, we've lost it. This is not going to be great. Charles Leclerc will have the DRS on us. We're going to try to break the toe, but he still has the speed with DRS. He's going to go maybe try round the outside, but he's not close enough. And we have that covered. We covered the inside and pushed him a bit wide out. And we keep the place from Charles Leclerc. P13 still for us. So now we move to the final lap of this race. The final lap. We got the DRS back on Daniel Kvyat for the final time into turn 1 through the Suzuka S's. Charles Leclerc is still behind us, but he's dropped back a bit. He's not that close anymore than how he was before. But as we get awkwardly into the S's and Charles Leclerc edged ahead for that small moment, but we got back ahead. But he's gonna try maybe round the outside into the next corner. No, he thinks better of it and gets out of that move. But because of that, he drops back a bit. But we also drop back of Daniel Kvyat, which is not great either. But probably Charles Leclerc will gain back on us because, I mean, we have to admit it, the Ferrari car is definitely the better car at this stage of the Grand Prix, at this stage of the year, as we lock up both tires, and Charles Leclerc is right beside us. But as on the laps before, we get the better acceleration and keep ahead on Charles Leclerc on this occasion. But we still have this long back straight, 130R, and the final braking zone to go. So I hope we can stay ahead of Charles Leclerc. I really hope so, but it's going to be tricky. He's right behind us now. He's really right up our gearbox, and he actually braked his toe for the first time on this back straight. He's going to maybe try a move round the outside of 130R, but we have got the inside line, the better line, and we are still side by side into the braking zone. We brake a bit later than him, go round the outside of Charles Leclerc, have the inside for the next corner. We keep ahead of Charles Leclerc as Lewis Hamilton wins the Japanese Grand Prix. We come through in P14. Great job, let's go.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And with that, another year of Formula One draws to a close, and the new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So yeah, great P13 for us. Lewis Hamilton wins the Grand Prix, and what a podium. Sergio Perez in P2, Daniel Ricciardo P3, Carlos Sainz P4, Valtteri Bottas only P5, and Sebastian Vettel gets into the points with the Ferrari. I have no clue why the scenes where Lewis Hamilton won the title came again in this race, because that actually came in the race before. But we lose our top 10 standings in the driver's standings. We're back down to P11. In the constructor standings, still P7. So yeah, decent race here in Japan considering all the circumstances. So yeah, actually really happy about this. So yeah, that was it. The Japanese Grand Prix 2020 ended up in P13. Really happy considering that we started at the back of the grid and the car was not feeling great the whole weekend. But in the race it really came alive, and we will make some, not upgrades, but there is a regulation change for next year. And we will get the parts that we would lose, get that back, but we don't have enough R&D points at the moment to purchase them all. So yeah, saving up some R&D points for the end of the season too, to get good upgrades in over the winter. So yeah, P13 for this race. Really happy. Lewis Hamilton, the world champion, already confirmed the last episode. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more content of my F1 2020 career mode. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. See you next time. Goodbye.